Hi, this is Matt with AppliancePartsPros.com. In this video, we're going to show you how to troubleshoot the top 5 reasons why your gas range has a gas smell. Stick around at the end of the video for some important safety tips that most people don't even know about. But before we begin, we're going to make sure the appliance is unplugged or the circuit breakers are off so there's no chance of electrocution. Also make sure you turn off the gas valve at the wall. Sometimes when you start the range, you'll smell a gas odor as it warms up. This is normal and goes away. But anytime you smell excessive gas, you should immediately turn off the power at the circuit breaker, shut off the gas supply, don't use any electrical switches, put out any open flames, and ventilate the area. In this video, you'll have to work on the range with the gas on in order to test for leaks. If you're not comfortable doing that, please call a technician. The first thing we're going to check is the oven igniter. It lights the gas in the oven. The most common type of oven igniter is the glow bar type with either a round or square body. It has a ceramic body with an element that glows hot to ignite the gas. They usually have a cage to protect the element as it's very fragile and breaks easily. They're usually mounted on the bake or broil oven burners. If your gas range has a gas smell while trying to start the oven, the igniter could be going bad. To get to the igniter, you'll have to open the oven door, remove the racks, the oven bottom, and the flame spreader. You'll first want to look at the igniter to make sure it hasn't come loose and it's mounted properly. If it isn't, it may not ignite the gas. When an igniter starts to get old, it won't glow as bright. There's a short period, as it's getting older, when the igniter may still be sending a little power to the oven safety valve. When this happens, the safety valve may open just a little and let some gas seep out, but there isn't enough pressure to push the gas up to the oven burner. This may cause delayed ignition, or it may not light at all. If you aren't sure, you can test how many amps it's drawing with a multimeter that has a clamp-on amp meter. Make sure it's set to amps. There are a few different designs of igniters that are rated at different amps. You have the round igniters and the blue square ones that replace some round igniters. They're used with oven safety valves that are rated at 2.5 to 3 amps. Then you have the regular square igniters that are used with valves rated at 3.3 to 3.6 amps. You can see the amp rating on the oven safety valve itself. So temporarily turn the power back on, but leave the gas off. Then clamp the amp meter around one of the wires from the igniter and turn the oven on. If the igniter isn't drawing enough amps, it'll have to be replaced. Usually the igniter will not read all the way up to 3.3 amps due to age, and they can read even less and still open the safety valve. But anything less than 3.0 for the square igniters or 2.2 for the round ones is questionable and may not open the safety valve in the required time. If you need to order a part, simply go to AppliancePartsPros.com and type in your model number. Find your part on the easy-to-read diagrams and match it to the number below. Click on the part if you want to see more pictures of the item or watch its repair video. You can also scroll down to see DIY stories from customers like you or ask a question in the Q&A section. Once you're ready, you can add the part to your cart. It's that easy. Most orders will arrive within 2 business days. Next, we can check the burner tubes. They supply the gas to the cooktop burners. Burner tubes go in between the gas valve and the burners on the cooktop. They usually have a compression fitting on each end, but some come complete with the orifice. The burner tubes are located underneath the cooktop section. In most cases, you'll have to remove the grates, burner heads, and screws to lift up the cooktop. If your gas range has a gas smell when using the cooktop, it could be that the burner tube for that burner is cracked. They can develop cracks over time from vibration, or if someone tries to lift the cooktop up without realizing that they have to take the burner heads off, it could damage the tubes. Gas detection meters have gotten cheaper over the years, but most people don't have them. If you do, great, you can go ahead and use it. We're going to show you how to use the leak detecting fluid because that's what most people have. Once you lift up the top and have access to the burner tubes, you can coat the burner tubes with the leak detecting fluid. Then you can temporarily turn the gas back on. Then turn the burner valve on and check for leaks. If the burner tube is damaged and leaking, it'll have to be replaced. Now we can look at the cooktop burner valves. They control how much gas gets sent to the burner head. Cooktop burner valves are what you turn to send the gas to the burner head. They usually have a mounting block that attaches to the manifold, a connection point for the burner tubes, and a shaft where the knob mounts. Cooktop burner valves are usually located right behind the control panel. On some models, if you pull the knob off, you can see the shaft, but in most cases, you'll have to lift the cooktop section to access them. If your control panel is in the way, you may have to remove the knobs and the control panel to access them. If the cooktop burner valves go bad and start to leak, you'll get a gas smell. Once you have access to the burner valves, they usually have a small screw with a seal that holds the valve to the manifold. Make sure the screw didn't vibrate loose and make sure it's mounted properly before you test it. Take the spark switch off. There's 2 screws behind the switch that you can also check to make sure they're tight. Coat the valve with the leak detector. And temporarily turn the gas back on. If you don't see any bubbles right away, turn the valve on and off a few times to see if it leaks during operation. If the valve is leaking, it'll have to be replaced. Next, we can check the gas pressure regulator. It reduces and regulates the incoming gas pressure so the range will operate properly. Gas pressure regulators have a small square body with a gas inlet and outlet. Some of the newer ones have a shutoff built into them. Inside is a diaphragm and spring which regulate the pressure. They're usually located down by the safety valve inside the oven or on the back of the range. If your gas range has a gas smell, it could be that the gas pressure regulator has started to leak. Once you have access to the regulator, coat it with the leak detecting fluid. And temporarily turn the gas back on. If you see any bubbles on the regulator, it means that it started to leak and needs to be replaced. As always guys, hit those like and subscribe buttons now to help support us making more of these videos. Last thing to look at is the oven safety valve. It's a safety device that prevents the gas from flowing to the oven burner if the igniter fails. Oven safety valves usually have a metal body with a bimetal arm inside that when heated from the electricity supplied by the oven igniter, bends and opens the oven safety valve so gas can flow out the orifice. They're made with a single valve or a dual valve depending upon the oven. Depending upon the range design, the oven safety valve is usually mounted by the oven burner, which sits right on the gas orifice of the valve. It could also be mounted behind the rear access panel and have a short gas line running into the oven burner. If the oven safety valve seal has gone bad, the range will have a gas smell. Depending upon your range, you'll either have to remove the racks, oven bottom, and flame spreader, or go around back and remove the rear access panel. Once you have access to the valve, we can test it to see if it's leaking. Coat it with the leak detector and temporarily turn the gas back on. If there are any bubbles indicating a leak, it'll have to be replaced. Now here are those safety tips we mentioned earlier. A lot of people are still using aluminum foil to protect their ranges from spills and grease buildup. Although it may seem like a good idea, you may not be aware of the dangers it can pose. Firefighters respond to over 170,000 kitchen fires per year, and failing to keep the range clean is linked to more than 13,000 of those. On electric cooktops, many people cover the drip pans with foil so they don't have to clean them, but this can cause moisture retention, making them rust even faster. It can also block airflow, reflect heat back into the elements, damaging them, or if the foil touches the element, it could be a shock hazard or start a fire. On gas cooktops, wrapping the grates, burner heads, or drip pans in foil can cause heat retention, carbon monoxide poisoning, as well as starting a fire. In general, you'll want to avoid lining the oven with foil because it could block air passages, causing heat buildup that causes poor cooking and increases the dangers of a fire. If the foil gets too hot, it could melt, damaging the oven lining or starting a fire. With electric ovens, putting foil under the element could cause heat to be reflected back into the oven, overcooking the food and possibly damaging the element. If the foil touches the element, it could become a shock hazard. In gas ovens, blocking air passages could affect the burner operation, causing poor cooking and carbon monoxide poisoning. You also don't want to completely cover an oven rack, as this will disrupt the airflow and cause cooking problems. You should only use a small pan on a rack several inches below the food you're cooking to catch drips. Due to these dangers, you don't want to use aluminum foil to try to keep the range clean. You should clean the oven and underneath the cooktop regularly to prevent grease buildup. So keep the foil off the range, keep it clean, and keep an eye on it while you're cooking. Once you take care of the problem, you can plug the appliance in and turn the gas back on. Thanks for joining us for another troubleshooting video brought to you by AppliancePartsPros.com. Remember to hit the like and subscribe buttons now, and if you have any questions or want to share how your repair went, leave a comment down below.